Peace, cooler. Think fast. Happy now, of course. This may just be me, but as far as the extremities of the happiness that comes with it. But you ever had that feeling where it's cold in the house or cold outside, and you're about to go to sleep, you know, you got all this cold air around you. But then when you get under the warm covers, it's like, oh shit, this feels so good. Like, god damn, it feels so good. Like, it make you, which I'm reenacting sometimes how I really be. Like, I'm like, man, it feels so good under these covers. Like, man, And think about that, like, how, like, oh man, it feels so good. But I wouldn't be able to experience that like, oh, it feels so good, if I wasn't experiencing that part that didn't feel so good, like where the cold, if I wasn't experiencing that cold that was that was getting to become bothersome to my body, and I wouldn't feel so relieved by that warmth. And matter of fact, I think about that too, like a lot of the times I realize when we like being happy, like say for instance, more so from going cold to warm, like when you're warming yourself from being cold, but it's like like that laugh and it like, oh man, it feels good. I'm being happy under covers, but also like indirectly, like say for instance, so just like when we catch the chills and we start shaking, like when it's cold. Reason why we're shaking is to create heat, like the body is shaking in order to have the cells, rubbing against each other and moving. You know what I'm saying? So even though you're not like actually doing the exercise, it's like, well, shit, we're gonna move in some kind of way. That's why you got because it's shaking the body to make it warm. So I think about those moments when I would get under the cover and be laughing, or like I'd be like, I don't know if I can do it, but like I'd be running in the sheets, like I'd be like, as far like moving my feet, I gotta display it like moving my feet, like, oh man, like just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? But that's also too to actually create friction so I can get warm. Same thing with like laughing in a situation, like when we cold, we might feel it like like laughing, like bro, let's get out of this cold, like that laughing is a indirect, whether purposely or not, it is a defense mechanism towards the cold air, because it's causing us to laugh, just like the chills come when you're laughing, like like your muscle moving, like rapidly without you actually moving when you laughing and stuff like that. That creates a vibration. That vibration creates friction and heat, also creating light. Go into another story, but anyway, yeah. But again, and what I'm speaking on this for is again to just realize, without the darkness there will be no light, and vice versa. In order for a certain flower, to smell good, in order for something to exist to even smell good, they have to have that polarizing opposite of something smelling horrible. You know what I'm saying? Because if everything had the same smell, it wouldn't be no experience of like, oh, this smells great, or this smells beautiful. Or it wouldn't be experience, oh, this smells bad, or this and that. It would just be like, oh, this smells like it's just plain, you know what I'm saying? No experience. So again, that contrast, that creates the experience, for us. Without that cold, frigid air, I wouldn't be able to cherish and appreciate warmth. And then on the other side, when things are extremely hot and you're able to get in that AC and it's like, oh man, I'm in heaven, like it's a release. But you wouldn't have that I'm in heaven if that heat wasn't, busting you up so much. You wouldn't feel like, oh man, again, like if that extreme heat didn't exist, then that high pleasure from being in the cold air wouldn't exist. Again, and it could be, and showing you the balance of everything. You could get pleasure again from coming out of either contrast. If you're going from cold to warm or warm to cold, but like again, you see how the contrast creates our happiness to a certain extent. The reason why we're able to get so extremely happy is because we've been through places that allow for us to be extremely sad. I always bring up the analogy: you playing a game. You got a certain part in this game. Just like the game of life, you got a certain area on the board where you get to it, and that person always gets you. Like you playing a shooting game or something or whatever. And there's a certain board at a certain part where, man, that person always get me, bro. They be cheating, man. They're always doing this. So, you get to that stream, like, bro, you get mad, you getting angry, stepping into those levels. But after you pass that board, you like, man, fuck that, I knew I was the best. Like, you get that high level of happiness, through going through that low level of unhappiness, you know what I'm saying? That moment wouldn't exist without you, having that contrast. And again, where you could say, well, I don't want to be extremely happy, or, well, again, without any type of contrast, you would just have a plain existence where nothing, everything would be the same. I think about the show Magicians on Netflix. I did videos about it, or at least one or two, but how it kind of was playing on that aspect of the god that tries to, like, there was two guys that were brothers. One was the god of chaos, the other one was the god of making everything perfect, and he had a little part where he had created this perfect little world, basically in this almost in this tesseract type of vibe where he's sitting in the crib, but he actually has this little world in a little area. And he asked a brethren, he invited a brethren to visit that world for the first time. He like, would you like to come, And they go there, there's no people there yet, but he has everything plain, because he's speaking on how I just want everything to be so, practical, logical, plain, no chaos, no craziness, none of that. Then again, with that not existing in his realm, everything would be, like, hey, everything would be plain. There wouldn't be no contrast, no experience, There wouldn't be anything to do because everything is so perfectly in order. But with that right back, but before that though, again, he was trying to create his own little world. But before that, him and his brother had came together to create this world, and again, that little mixture of chaos with that mixture of the boundaries and the logic, the plainness, nothing exciting happening. Everything is just. But when those two things come together, that create a certain experience that allow for us to, learn and grow, not just have this level of just everything being on this little line right here, everything being the same. Like have some different contrast to the mix, to our experience. So again, that feeling like, oh man, I feel good. I just come out of that cold air. The reason why you feel so good is because, that cold air didn't feel so good. You know what I'm saying? Like that contrast of that cold air, actually getting to y'all that hot air, because either one could polarizingly, feel good or, feel quote unquote, let me say bad or good. Again, it's just experiences, It's not nothing. It's not a human moralistic system of good, bad, right or wrong. It's experience. And on a higher godly level, it's an understanding of that. Compared to where it drops down to the human level, and it becomes about human morals, and that's more so again because certain people on this plane of existence needed human morals for them to cordially exist amongst others. They had to learn human morals, while some of us, we existed way before a human existed, or human nature even existed for us to have to worry about morals, on the human level. But again, that good feeling. And also, speaking from going cold or hot, that's also why, our spiritual growth and with everything in life, as above, so below, like dealing with a fish. When you putting a fish, switching a fish from out of, he come from a water, like, say for instance, he come from a more hot water, you can't just put that fish, in some cold ass water just out the blue. That fish gonna go freeze up and shock. And think about yourself, like you ever like went from just being hot or chilling and just jumping into some ice cold ass water. So again, like that extreme polarity, dealing with the energies. Because again, I was just speaking on, not necessarily dealing with the extremes, but just dealing with the difference in them and the fact that the contrast exists for one to feel, quote unquote pleasurable. And one situation is gonna feel pleasurable. In order for the pleasurable situation to exist, the unpleasurable situation has to exist as well. But again, we're dealing with the extremes though. Again, like you take that fish from some warm water, you wanna first like let the water the warm water he's in, sit in some cold water and let that water, start to gradually change temperatures, and then you will switch them to a colder water. If it's meant, I'm just speaking on it because I remember the vibe of like having fish, and I remember my daddy telling me, like we couldn't just put the fish into the new water because it would cause them to go into shock. Like we gotta transition them into that temperature, gradually, to make sure we don't go through no shock. And that's the same thing as above, so below in our spiritual growth. That's the main reason why somebody has to grow into a place of realizing that Jesus is fake, compared to a place of like going through shock where, like swords just hits them out of the blue, like just take down that Jesus shit out, like in which we have the dark night of the soul, where it gets to a point where because we've been lollygagging or not paying attention for so long, the dark night of the soul come through and be like, all right, bro, you came down here to do this work. It's time for you to remember that you came down here to do this work. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you don't want to, we're not trying to fully shock somebody. You're not trying to shock somebody. Again, that's like somebody, walking a tightrope, and they balancing themselves out, and they ain't got nothing underneath them, or they walking on a tightrope. You could be like, like, hey, like gradually, like, hey, don't move too quick. I'm just talking to you. This and that and this, like you talking, in a manner, compared to like, hey, watch out, this and that, like oh shit, they done fell off of the, they done fell completely off of the line, because that's one thing I do and I speak of when I talk to people dealing with, the Jesus situation, the Christ energy. Like I always present it in such a manner where I let people know, like, hey, the Christ energy, first and foremost, before I even go into it, I'm like, hey, the Christ energy is real. Christ energy exists. But here it is where 16 different giving evidence compared to like, just that like trying to rip that person apart, as far as like with the information, like in other words, taking them from one vibration and trying to swing them into another vibration, that'll be more detrimental than helpful to them, because then they're sitting around like, well, fuck, I ain't, there's no God, like, what I'm saying? Because a lot of people see that vibe of Jesus as the only God. So, again, as we breaking that down to them, also letting them know, like, hey, no, God exists and Christ energy exists. Just not in the manner, the way the Europeans and Constantine and, these certain people that wanted to oppress, it's not in that fashion or way they present it. As I say, people that wanted to oppress, this is all divine order. They doing what they supposed to be doing to a certain extent. But again, it's that shock factor. You don't want to, higher self source doesn't put us through the shock. Again, like, unless we just been messing up or ignoring our, spiritual gifts, then we get hit with that dark night of the soul. But again, and even the dark night of the soul is to an extent where it doesn't like, cause you to just like completely like give up or say fuck God, on that level, but it come to shake things up a little bit. But again, we look at the way Source deals with us, we all gradually, because even if we do have a 360 of a change, that's another thing too. That means you were meant or you were ready for that change. You know what I'm saying? So you were ready for that change of water. That change of temperature. So it was easier for you to make that switch. But for the most part, when switching vibrations, or like switching temperatures, in essence, because temporary, I think it's like stands for state of being, if I'm not mistaken. When you break down that etymology of temperature, so that state of being, like uh, going from extreme to extreme, that from temperature to temperature. Again, you don't want to. It's not it could be detrimental more than helpful if we were to grow too fast. So again, like be put into that high vibration too quickly, then I won't even be able to assess it and really know what's going on. If I just get thrown into it, without going through the growth gradually. Which I'm gonna do a video on agate or agate, dealing with that. That process of the spiritual growth being slowly but surely. It's not by being thrown into thrown into a place where it shocks you and you just really don't get nothing out of the situation. But that's it. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrator, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Remember, the contrast roses smell good because shit exists.